Keep it going,
Ladies and gentlemen, thanks for showing up this morning. This is Downtown Toastmasters.
Yeah.
We came to meet everybody get up on your feet. Shake your body. Get it going. This is Jazzercise Toastmasters. Working. Guys told you. They just know the steps. Yeah. Okay. Thank you, everybody. Now, ladies and gentlemen, down for the real medicine. If you came here to learn how to speak, you came to the right place. This is the most fascinating, outstanding club on this side of the West Coast.
Yeah.
And I want you to know, ain't no party like a Toastmaster party, because a Toastmaster party don't stop. Where's the Vice President? Let's see what he has.
That guy's done that before. And in style. Welcome to Santa Cruz Downtown Toastmasters. We always start every meeting with an opportunity for guests to introduce themselves. Stan, you're hardly a guest, but officially you are. Stan Sushi, welcome back.
I don't think I really need to introduce myself, but I'm a former member of this club, and I'm a
Former president.
Toastmaster.
Welcome back. Dan told me he actually steals our word of the day very often and uses it in his book currently. And sitting back by Stan is Lance. Lance, could you introduce yourself, please?
Hi, I'm Lance Brown.
Lance Brown.
I'm going to add a few words.
What brings you here?
I'm up real early, and nothing else today brought me in, told me about Toastmasters, and suggested I wanted to do it, so I decided to show up and see what's up. Good job.
Seeing how it's done, please introduce yourself and say what has brought you here this morning.
My name's Daphne. I forgot to tell you, how much fun is this? It's like 5 minutes I'm here. Thank you so much. I feel really comfortable being here. The website was great. I speak with groups of people. I'm an HR director, and I thought this would be a great place for me to feel more comfortable in that environment, and so I'm happy to be here.
That's all of our guests. Am I missing anyone? Ma'am, are you a guest? I know you just walked in, but you happen to walk in. What's your name again? Tina. Welcome back, Tina. From guests to new members, I would like to take just a couple of moments, and the reason in this club that we vote in new members is because if in any odd case we might need to vote someone out, we have that ability. And it's time to vote in some new members. Since our last vote, we have the following Santa Cruz Downtown Toastmasters members: Cynthia Hom, Bonnie Nachiva, Lauren Dockendorf, Creighton Mendeville, and Emily Nonson. I would entertain a motion to induct all of them, to vote all of them in at once.
So moved.
Ray has moved and Lisa has seconded. Thank you. Any discussion? Seeing no discussion, all in favor of voting all of them in, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed with the same sign. The motion passes unanimously. Welcome, everyone. That formality, but problem nonetheless. Strong club, and we're adding to it. That's very good. We'll also start with prayer and pledge, and today's prayer and pledge leader confessed to me, I hope it's okay that I share, that she's nervous when she gets up here, no matter what her role is. And she's nervous, but she says, I can't avoid the very thing that I signed up for, and that's getting up here and speaking. I know for me when I'm nervous, what helps is knowing that I'm liked and that people want to hear me talk. So let's give a warm and loud, robust applause so she knows she's liked and we want to hear what she says to our current pledge leader, Tiffany Worthington.
I know I'm soaking wet, I just got done from the ocean. It's way later, it was a good day. Oh, well, for all the research I did on this topic, I thought instead of talking about corporations and persons, that maybe it would be nice to start this meeting with recognizing the intimate, unique, and human aspects and experiences of being human, what we might call the human spirit. There's a song by Lucinda Williams, I'm not going to sing it, but it's a song by Lucinda Williams called Sweet Old World, somebody who actually ended their life shortly and wasn't connected to the human anymore. And it says, see what you lost when you left this world, this sweet old world, the breath from your own breath, and the touch of the fingertips. Sweet and delicate. The sound of a midnight train. There, someone's rain. Someone calling your name. Somebody, somewhere, cradled in your arms. Didn't even think you were worth anything. You just lost when you left this world. Sweet old world. Millions of acts of love. Promises made good. Your own flesh and blood. Looking for some truth. He's dancing with no shoes. The beat, the rhythm, and the blues. The pounding of your heart song. Together with another love. Do you think anyone loves you? See what you lost when you left this world? Sweet old world. See what you lost when you left this world? Sweet old world. So if you all stand and join me for a pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
When I asked today's Toastmaster how long she's been in this club, she said, I don't know, I think it was 1984. Said she joined this club when she'd go to work every Friday morning and there was a broker in the real estate agency. The broker that came into her office, really upbeat and positive. And that person said, you want to come and see what Toastmaster is? Yeah, I want to see what's making me so happy every day. And she's been stuck in ever since. She is even a member of Surf City, which I understand meets once a month, and it's an opportunity, just like this club, to speak, but much longer speeches, or much longer meeting, and you get 12 to 15 evaluations. Everybody in the club talks about your speaking, gives you feedback. She says that she is a wannabe recluse, and she tends to not want to say things. And one of the things she likes about Toastmasters beyond the people is that it makes her keep talking. And in her role today, she's going to make us keep talking. Please welcome Sandy Mason.
Tells it all. Don't tell them your secrets. Thank you, Tiffany. You made me cry. It was beautiful. Corporations, persons, people. Well, I started out researching this, so at least I would know what we were talking about today, and it's a pretty charged subject, so I'm really looking forward to what other people are thinking about this subject. Corporations have been in the United States since colonial times. They had corporations where the British sent people over here to make banks and to gather up all the riches of the New World and take them back. And it's an expedient way, when corporations are made as people, it's an expedient way to do business, so that as one person they can own property. As one person you can sue them if you want to, and not have to sue all the shareholders and all the people in an individual. So there are some good things about it, I guess. And we're going to hear something. We're going to hear for and against, I suppose. So we need to get started. Our first person I'd like to call up is Cynthia Ham as the word master. And Cynthia, as you know, has just been voted in as a new member, so let's give her a applause.
Today, our word is synergistic. It's one of my favorite words to say. In my field, we use it a lot for, say you have a drug that works pretty well, and you have another drug that works pretty well, but when you put them together, it works really well. So, trying to use this as much as you could today. And you can use synergistic together. I just do not work synergistically.
I think that what we do here is always synergistic. Look how Curtis gets us all warmed up in the beginning, and Jay does. It's like, and then we just build. Our next person up will be Joan Staffen, the 1-minute Toastmaster. What's he going to do?
Well, synergistically, it seems that I wanted to talk about risk-taking, but it feels like everyone's always taking risks this morning, like Curtis, getting us all fancy. We've never done that before here. We have new members who just by coming are taking risks. But I want to speak to the older members. Some of us who are older members who have been here for a while, we need to get excited about Toastmasters again. We need to take some risks. For some of us in Toastmasters, that might be, we might be very good at giving a very structured speech. And if that's true, then we might consider giving a more personal speech and telling more about our lives and really getting down into the nitty-gritty about what's making us people, what makes us human. For others, it might be like, I thought it was cute, Tiffany said, I'm not going to sing that song. It might be to sing that song next time. But Tiffany actually did something I have a hard time doing. She actually memorized the poem. She memorized the poem and wrote it without using any notes. And that's really pretty amazing too. So I would just urge all of us, new and returning members, to take as many risks because we remember those. How many in this room remember when Paula talked about being naked and dancing across the stage to get over her fear? I remember that. A gal named Paula. That was probably 7 years ago. So let's all take risks.
Our humorist this morning, and a man who just a week ago gave us a very heartwarming speech, is Charles Flowers. Please welcome Charles.
Speaking of corporations, I'm going to give you a couple of reasons not to mess with children. Does that compute?
No.
Most corporations have children. Anyway, a little girl was talking to her teacher about whales. The teacher said it was physically impossible for a whale to swallow a human because even though it was a very large mammal, the throat was very small. And the little girl stated that Jonah had been swallowed by a whale. Irritated, the teacher reiterated that a whale could not swallow a human. It was physically impossible. And the little girl said, when I get to heaven, I'm going to ask Jonah. The teacher said, what if Jonah went to hell? The little girl replied, then you get to ask him.
My partner for the day is Jay Mosley. Please welcome him as General Evaluator.
Good morning, fellow Toastmasters and our guests. On timer this morning, we have a past Toastmaster of the Year, Pat Garcia. Our off-counter, a fairly new member, is Emily Nonsen. Tallying up the votes this morning, Gerardo Cortez. Keeping us right on our grammar, Ann Mitchell.
All right, we're ready to start the show, the main part of our show. Our first speaker this morning, speaking on topic from the storytelling manual, the folk tale, 7 to 9 minutes. 7 to 9 minutes, Pat. The title of his speech is The Little Corporation That Could. John Hanson is a CTM who has been in our club since 1990. Let's welcome John Hanson.
Madam Toastmaster, so Toastmaster. Yes. I think I can. Once upon a time, there was a little corporation run by Minnie. And she lived in Bayou Morpho. And her corporation made toadstools. Now, Minnie wasn't too happy because there were other large corporations that were doing better than she was. So she was trying to figure out how could she be a better corporation. She found a poem by a soothsayer told her about the 3 commitments of leadership: clarity, stability, and rhythm. I got rhythm, I got music, I got my... No, not that type of rhythm. Thank you. Appreciate that. Clarity. Clarity, the first commitment, is the total awareness about the core of knowledge of what we do in ourselves and every member of our team. Boy, those are big words for many to swallow. What does that mean? Total awareness of what we do. Well, we make toadstools. That's kind of simple. We have gnomes that make toadstools. So it's about that high. It's real easy for them to make toadstools. Total awareness of what we do. Well, let's see. It could be awareness of what Minnie does, because she's the CEO. Total awareness. The second commitment. Is stability. Stability is the problem to do everything we can so that everyone on our team or our organization has what they need. Gee, how do we keep these old gnomes stable? You know, I mean, what do you give a gnome to make them happy? I don't think they have sex. You know, there's only one type of gnome. You can't have those type of, right? What do you mean, awe? Who said awe? rhythm, pattern that leaders foster to produce more of the results that we want. Being grounded. Rhythm. Here's ground rhythm. Yeah. Rhythm. What do we mean by rhythm? A flow. A flow so that they're making toadstools. They're happy making toadstools. Hi ho, hi ho. No, not that. You can't feel that one. But those other little guys doing that. You know, I know. No, I didn't have the idea for it. Rhythm. Now, many started thinking about this. How can I be synergistic about it? How can I do that? Well, by reading this tome, Pre-Commitment to Leadership, she figured out that it's not all about her. It's about having the known become leaders. How could we have them be able to step up and take over? Say Minnie wants to have a day off. If there's known number one, known number two, someone can step up, be part of this organization, to lead it. These are very heavy subjects for Minnie to get into her head. We started working on it and got to a point where I can do this. I can make this happen. I can really make this happen. And as she kept working on it, and kept working on it, and kept working on it, she figured out that the more she helped all these others, they would step up. They would become leaders. And they could make tadpole stools. They could make frog stools. Toads and frogs would come from miles around. Now, the best thing that happened for Minnie when she was now a big successful toadstool corporation, was number one, came back. She went on her own and she was making gnat stools. Not that high. Gnat stools. Got it. Yeah. Came back and she says, I want to take you to lunch. Oh, well, I wonder what she wants. Take me to lunch. He, she. We don't know what. Okay. Right. Takes her to lunch. Boy, that's the best bid yet, isn't it? Takes her to lunch. She's sitting there. So how can I help you? She says, I just want to thank you. You want to thank me? What for? You helped me become a leader. It's a pre-commitment of leadership, of clarity, stability, and rhythm. Now I'm a huge success making gnat stools. Thank you very much. I got rhythm, I know. I think I can.
Those of you who've been here a few times know that you write a little note there and then you put it in this basket as it comes by for John. Say nice things, say things you might think help to make him even better than he is. That storytelling manual is a hit today. Our second speaker is also from the Storytelling Advanced Manual. Also project number 1, the folk tale. 7 to 9 minutes text. Instead of a familiar folk tale, the speaker chose an unconventional one written by a young author involving CEOs, involving Congress, the Federal Reserve, and a character named Depression. The title is a mouthful. How Bernanke tackled the Depression,
as recorded 150 years from now by post-apocalyptic Togo folklore. Please welcome Tom.
Yeah.
I'm Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters, and welcome guests. Once upon a time, there was a great recession, the scourge of the land. Millions of people became jobless. And those who still had their jobs looked out of their corporate windows at the jobless down below, stumbling into each other. They were moaning in desperation, and those looking out the windows became terrified because they thought they may be next down there jobless. The great corporate CEOs noticed that their employees were terrified, and they became terrified too. Why? Because a terrified employee is not an efficient employee. Great CEOs, in synergistic fashion, boarded their corporate jets and headed to Capitol Hill, where they stumbled out into their private black limousine and emerged at the steps of Capitol Hill for the great meeting setting. And there before them lay the powerful and otherworldly Ways and Means Committee. The great CEOs bowed before the Ways and Means sages of great power and wealth. Oh, sages, we're in the midst of a terrible recession. We have people losing their jobs, and our people that are still employed with us are now no longer lending us corporate efficiency. What can you do to solve this issue? The chorus of sages boomed through the halls. What would you have us do for you, you besuited CEOs? The CEOs wailed. Oh, great sages, you alone are close to the Federal Reserve. Please enlist their help to slay this recession dragon so that we can go back to doing what we do best, lining our pockets with lots of money. The great sages conferred for days behind closed doors, and they called upon the Federal Reserve and its leader, the great Bernanke. Oh, great Bernanke, what sacrifices must we and the CEOs make so that you will slay this dragon beast of a recession and return prosperity to the land? The great Bernanke looked down from his perch atop the Federal Reserve. 3 sacrifices I demand, and 3 shall I receive. Oh yes, great one. What are they? Number 1, you must curb executive pay for CEOs. Get them to agree to that. Number 2, you must invite my apostles back to Capitol Hill party. Because just because they are humorless economists doesn't mean that they want a social life, that they do social life. Number 3, you must slay 1,000 pure white oxen in sacrifice to me. So Bernanke spoke. The sages agreed. They did all that was asked. They slaughtered the oxen. Capitol Hill parties became boring once again as economists attended, and they got on the phone with the CEOs and said, hey, you've got to cool it with this executive pay. You've got to stop the salaries that are hundreds of thousands of times greater than your average employee. The CEOs squirmed in their seats, and they sort of talked out of the side of their mouth and said, okay, we'll take a look at it. With the 3 sacrifices secured, Bernanke let loose 999 economists, each meeting with 999 government officials, each making 999 policy initiatives. Each initiative woven into a complex cube that gave power to the mere mortal Bernanke, so he was soon 10,000-foot colossus Newly armed with the Capitol Dome as a shield and the Empire State Building as a sword, he set out on his trek to the usual haunt of recession, the Rust Belt. But lo, what did he find there? No, something far worse. He saw depression ascended. The scourge of markets was sitting glumly, drinking a cup of coffee next to a nuclear cooling tower plant at Lansing, Michigan, absent-mindedly clipping his fingernails with an unsold 2009 Chevy Impala. Bernanke knew he was no match for depression, but being a clever man, he disguised himself. He approached. Hi there. Depression looked disinterestedly. Oh, hey. I'm just a stupid natural resources dude, and I'm trying to get to the Alberta oil sands. Can you show me the way? Depression looked over his shoulder, jabbed his way. Yeah, I think it's, you gotta go through Ontario to get over there. It's kind of that way. Bernanke said, hey, can you please show me the way? Depression rolled his eyes into exasperation. Fine. You better watch out, because they took a bump somewhere over there by As he's about to step over the Detroit River, Bernanke smashed him in the air with the Empire State Building. Oh my God, what was that? Before he knew it, Bernanke jumped on him, and they were in Lake Erie, and they were punch drunk, like as if they were in the gutter fighting. Eventually, Bernanke got the upper hand. He grabbed Depression's head, slammed it 5 times into Toledo. Then he grabbed his head again, slammed him 5 times into the Ohio River. Finally, Depression cried, Uncle! Okay, you win. What do you want from me? The great Bernanke boomed while stroking his steel-wool beard. I demand that you vacate these premises at once! Depression whined. Well, I was just getting comfortable here. Please. To hasten his departure, Bernanke handed him a $999 billion bailout check, which helped him to pay off the security deposit. While Depression tucked the check in his pocket, Bernanke grabbed him and heaved him all the way into the middle of the Atlantic Ocean, and soon down, 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 Depression went, sinking powder, waiting for that next business cycle when he might emerge. Monstrous. But for now, the nation celebrated. The unemployed went back to work. The already employed became efficient again. The corporate CEOs, they handed the stages of Congress gold, fine linen, and campaign contributions. Bernanke returned to the Fed with a hero's welcome, but it wasn't long before his policy changed. Back down to mere mortal size. At that point, he retired and joined the lecture circuit, only to be missed by his disciple, the economist, who waited patiently for the next chapter of Let's Get Ready to Rumble! The Fed Reserve Chairman versus Depression. The end. Thank you.
Can you imagine what it must be like to bedtime story time? This kid's in for a real treat. Take time to write out a note to Tom and put it in the bag. That's lifelong yellow, and next to you, Stephen Lombard, I think of as our Jiminy Cricket. The guy who sits in our hat and is our conscience, tells us what's going on in the world. He's researching and reading, and each time he comes up here, he educates us a little more about our world. David is speaking for 5 to 7 minutes. The title of his speech is Corporate Personhood is Corporate Dominance. Please welcome David Lombard.
If I was immortal, I could live forever. What would I do? What kind of risks would I take? Now, all I have to do is save a little bit of my money. Eventually, I amass a huge fortune. And if I just connected with other people, eventually I'd have immense power. If I could live forever. And that's what corporations can do. They can live forever. That's what separates them from people. So corporations are legal entities that can engage in contracts and business, create synergy. And they do that quite well sometimes. So the Constitution of the United States, in the preamble, it says, "We the people." But the Constitution is being steadily eroded by seemingly small and insignificant acts. Corporate personhood being one of the most chilling. So corporate personhood is where corporations not only have the right to enter into contracts, but they have the rights of natural persons like you and me, flesh and blood. In 1886, the Supreme Court heard the case of Santa Clara County versus the Southern Pacific Railroad. And in that case, there was a clerk, a recorder of the case, who intentionally misinterpreted the ruling of that case and inserted it into the record, making corporations have the same rights as natural people, the right to lobby government, the right to free speech, and the courts have upheld those rights ever since. Before that occurred, before that case happened, corporations trying to influence government officials was called bribery and collusion. Now it's called lobbying. So the rise of corporate dominance, of corporate personhood has led to corporate dominance. In 2010, the Supreme Court, less than 2 years ago, the Supreme Court heard this case called Citizens United versus the Federal Election Commission. And in Citizens United, the Supreme Court said that corporations and unions can spend unlimited amount of money on political action committees, otherwise known as super PACs. These are supposed to be separate and unaffiliated entities that can influence through them but not make contributions directly to candidates. The difference between that kind of contribution and to a super PAC is that the corporations and the people that influence those corporations can and do remain anonymous. So the politicians and the policies are being influenced by anonymous entities. Banking, media, military contractors, and many other corporations are governed by a relatively small group of people through their boards of directors that have some of their agendas. I'm clear about that. And Citizens United overturned several laws that have been put in place in an attempt to remove the corrupting influence of money in our political system. So it nullified dozens of laws that have been put in place. So now the United States has the best government money can buy. And when you, by definition, when you have military, industry, media, and banking influencing and controlling the government, what you have, by definition, is called fascism. That's right. We live in a fascist state. And if you're not outraged by this, you're not paying attention. The other day, retired Supreme Court Justice John Paul Stevens said that his former colleagues are having second thoughts about citizenship. He said it was akin to having a debate and the amount of time that each person gets in the debate going up to auction to the highest bidder. So whoever has the most pay gets the most time. So it's an underlying premise in a democratic system that the laws are and the government are here to serve the people, and not the people here to serve the laws and government, and now the corporations, the umbrella over the government corporations. So it didn't come out, but I thought it would, that Ben Cohen of Ben and Jerry's Ice Cream has started a national campaign very recently to sell rubber stamps that you put on bills that say, corporations are not people, money is not speech. And the other stamp he's offering is not to be used for bribing politicians. So you can get those if you just go Citizens Unite, ready for this? If you Google Citizens Unite, which I did during my research, it came up first, this campaign with Ben Cohen. So I'm actually going to read now from the Declaration of Independence, so hang with me on this. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that we are endowed by our Creator with certain inalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. And to secure these rights, governments are instituted among men, deriving their powers from the consent of the government. And here's where it gets good. That whenever any form of government becomes destructive to these ends, it is the right of the people to abolish it and to institute new government, laying its foundation on such principles, organizing its powers in such form as to them shall seem the most likely to affect their safety and happiness. Prudence indeed will dictate that government long established should not be changed for light and transient causes. And accordingly, all experience has shown that mankind are more disposed to suffer while evils are sufferable than to right themselves by abolishing the form for which they are accustomed. But when a long train of abuses and usurpations, pursuing invariably the same object, events are designed to reduce them under absolute despotism, it is their right, no, it is your duty to throw off such government and provide new guards for their future safety. Unfortunately, so we have the First Amendment, which gives us the right to free speech. But unfortunately, the laws, the courts have already upheld that to advocate the overthrow of the government is beyond the scope of the First Amendment. So we're kind of in a catch-22. So I pray that we, all of us, have a new birth of freedom, and that government by the people and for the people and of the people shall not perish in their period.
Thanks, David. Please put your comments in the basket for Dave.
And evaluating John Hanson this morning will be our very own Ray Charlotte.
John drew it in immediately this morning with his title. What a great story, The Little Corporation That Could. I was immediately curious. I want to hear more. And then John's presence commands attention. Not just because he's tall, although that's certainly helpful, but his voice and his eye contact and his gestures include the whole room. You feel like he's really here, looking at you, paying attention to you, making contact. You do that really matters. And then he continued to maintain the contact. To me, when he pulled the book out, I thought, oh, this isn't just about Minnie. By the way, the use of the character's name, Minnie, I thought was a nice touch also. I let us know there's going to be some humor and it's going to be a story, a folk tale. Once there was a little gnome named Minnie. I liked the humor. So the book told me there was going to be some serious content too. The 3 commitments of leadership. So then we get serious. What are the 3 commitments of leadership? And how does this relate to Minnie, who actually makes code school? I wasn't sure what the connection was going to be. John proceeded to share what these 3 commitments to leadership are. And he had these little charts. I would suggest summarizing instead of having the entire content on a chart. I would just summarize, just maybe the word rhythm. And the other thing, John, that you could do would be to have a little cardboard back sitting here taped on so it could stand up when I would start. But it was great having these. They were nice and bold. You could read them. And as a speaker, it's great because you know you're going to communicate what you want to say to your audience, and you have this at hand. I enjoyed John's brief use of music and song. We've come to look forward to that in John's speeches. It adds a playful note. It gives us some vocal variety. But once, at least, I thought it was a distraction. You started some song and you said, no, not that. Maybe it's hi-ho, hi-ho, talk to what you go. And I thought you were maybe being overly creative in this kind of tone that way. The biggest improvement that I think John could make in his speech is to bring more focus to the ending, to really have a point and a focus. I wasn't clear at the ending what I was supposed to take away from this, or what Minnie took away. And perhaps he could have Minnie say, in a Minnie voice, these are the 3 commitments to leadership. And this is how I'm using them in my folk school classes. Something like that. John would have a much more polished way of doing it. Because one of the things John brings to every speech is this wonderful sense of polish and poise and just a beautiful delivery. Thank you, John.
We're missing my duty. Please vote for best speaker. Basket will be coming around. And now to evaluate Tom Ginsberg and his storytelling, please welcome Laura Costa.
Good morning, fellow Toastmasters. Welcome to and Tom. I'm going to start off by talking about some of the things that Tom asked me to look for, and then I'm going to talk about some other things that I thought worked really well in his speech, and just a couple of things I think we could use for improvement. Tom, you said that you really wanted this to be an entertaining, enjoyable speech. You also wanted to use strong vocal variety, and also some strong imagery to really tell the story. I really liked the way you started off right away with your vocal variety. We knew you were going through this story, particularly as you did impressions of different folks. It was, I believe, when the Ways and Means Committee came into the picture and you were able to impersonate them here and then impersonate the other folks bowing before them. I thought you did a great job, and we could tell who was talking. That worked really well. I also thought just how you set up the stage here. I really like how you put your finger up and just, kind of let us know 1 minute before your speech actually started. You moved this table out of the way, and it really allowed you to set the stage so you could act out the story to us. Just the imagery I thought that you used, particularly putting a dragon into your story, which is always great for a folk tale, right? We can all picture this dragon. And then the 3 sacrifices, picturing the oxen that were going to be slain, and the parties and things like that. We could really picture that. So I thought you did a great job of the imagery. And then also this 10,000-foot colossus that Bernanke was supposed to be, and my favorite image, the Empire State Building at the Sword. I thought that was great. One thing that I thought maybe could be helpful, and I know Tom was working really hard on this in the last 2 days to memorize all of this. It's a long speech, there's a lot of words in there, and so I could tell you had to remember all of the things that he wanted to put in there. And so some of the time you were sort of looking up instead of looking at us, and I was right there with you, Noah, trying to think of what the next part of this story is. So just having another week maybe to memorize it might have helped, but that was the main thing I thought. The other piece I would maybe make a recommendation would be in the manual it does say the story shouldn't be acted out, it should be interpreted, but I'm not sure that applies here because this was a made-up tale. It wasn't sort of a tale that we all know that the speaker has been going to interpret. Just finally a couple other thoughts, very creative, Tom. This whole idea of depression, being there clipping his nails, sitting on the side of Chevy Impala. If these are going to be 150 years, people will be like, yeah, remember Chevy Impalas, what they used to look like? So I thought that was very creative. And just sort of doing this whole acting out of chopping down the Atlantic Ocean and then coming back up again, given a ton of energy for this. I never could pull that off this early in the morning. I really credit you for that. And just a classic folk tale, the ending by just saying the end. I thought that was a really nice simple touch. So again, great speech. Thank you so much for all the effort you put in on it.
Now to evaluate David Lombard is the voluptuous Jack Webster.
David Lombard is one of the most accomplished speakers. Got a great voice, great presence, and he puts it out there. And I love David, he is opinionated. He believes the things that he believes, and they may not agree with what you believe. So he brings it to this situation, and I don't think there's a person in here that cannot agree that the Supreme Court has opened Pandora's box. And David, his goal today was to open our eyes to see what's happening. Opening Pandora's box. We're going to be able to close it. If it's like most things in government, I'm sure David agrees. We're not. He wants us to be outraged. We should be outraged at what's happening in our country. One suggestion, David. I know you didn't know this was going to happen, but Tom Ginsburg came up and moved the table sideways with the lecture control. So when you had to look at your notes, you had to turn like this and do it. You turned the table back. You had to square the table, then you could walk back in this fashion and take a look at your notes. I was looking for some suggestions. What are we going to do with this mess that's been created? Hundreds of millions of dollars being spent by corporate entities. It's a devastating situation. So if you have some suggestions, other than write your congressman or your senator, who of course are the ones that are receiving certain amount of these huge amounts of money, that would have been a good thing to come up with. And I was thinking as I was listening to talk, well, if I were David, what could I suggest? And in the short amount of time, I really couldn't suggest anything that I thought was effective. Buy silver. Yeah. I think you're on to something, David. Buy silver, buy gold. Who knows? But I think you got the message out there. Reading the Constitution beyond we the people is a tough thing to do. people's eyes, I think, unfortunately, tend to glaze over. If you possibly could have had a poster of some sort with the first part at least, and then worked off of that a little bit more. But it's a good speech, it's a great topic, it's not going to go away. It's very powerful, and very important. And I must say, very timely. Thank you, David.
We're voting now for the best evaluator. And I have a picture of the dollar bill with a stamp on it, and after the Occupy conference in Philadelphia in July, there's this currency stamping machine is going to be visiting different towns and stamping. But I want to go online and see if I can't stamp every piece of money that I spend from now on. So I am going to this website. And, okay, let's hurry up here because we'd like to hear what you have to say. So let's bring up Dennis Brady for table topic.
Thank you, Madam Postmaster. We are synergistically connected here for our guests, everybody, on everyone's side, whatever you say is okay. I'm going to ask everyone to look at the timer, and when it comes to 1 minute, think about closing down so we get more people in. And I'll talk about corporations, businesses, and my favorite topic, which is monkey business. At this stage of your work life, what do you consider to be your greatest challenge? Tricky. At this stage of your work life, what do you consider to be your greatest challenge?
Thank you, Dennis, for that question. My work life, well, as you know, I'm a marriage family therapist, and I believe my greatest challenge is what I'm doing making a difference in people's lives. Sometimes I don't know that. I'm hoping that I'm being helpful and listening to people with my undivided attention. However, people either get better and leave, or sometimes just leave. And I never know. Did they get better? Did they get worse? Did their relationship feel fuller, richer, more communication, more love? Or are they still bickering like the Bickersons? I never know. So sometimes just knowing, like, is what I'm doing making a difference. Thank you.
Your corporation was highly influential in its affect to marketing children, to marketing for children. Can you think of some way in which you would like to influence children? Chris.
Thank you, Dennis. My company does in fact market to children. We market classes and events, teaching them three-dimensional modeling, teaching them animation, teaching them software, teaching them electronics. So what would I want it to do? I would want it to make them more aware of their ability to influence their surroundings, to make things, to mend things, to adjust things, to use things in unexpected ways. I think children these days are too surrounded to expect from objects that just act and don't interact. And they don't get involved in using things in new ways, extending their capabilities. So that's what I hope they will do. I hope they would become inspired and enthused and effective in education. Thank you.
What are some qualities you might hope for in a manager, a CEO, or a leader? Is Stan still here? Yeah. Stan. Come on.
What are some qualities I would expect in a leader or CEO? I think the most important quality a CEO or a leader could have is to let you know what is expected of you and then get out of the way and let you do it. How many times have many of us been frustrated, particularly from the time we were children to the time we were adults, when someone told us what they wanted to have done and then stood there behind it and said, well, don't do it this way, or perhaps it's better to do it another way. I feel like a child sometimes when that happens to me, and certainly when I'm supervising people, I try to get out of the way. I say, look, we all know what needs to be done. Here's our main goal. What's the best way to do this? What way do you think we could do this? And I think that way, when the leader gets out of the way and lets the person do it his own way or her own way, you start to cause people to think, I'm in charge of the whole thing. This is my project. And in fact, you begin to develop other leaders that can then train others to do the job that everyone wants done. Thank you.
This board is on the monkey business part. Describe some aspect of your work that you really enjoy. Liz, take that for you.
Sure. So I'm a designer and a sculptor, and most recently I've been remodeling spaces, taking spaces that are used in one way and transferring them into another. In this instance, last year I converted a volleyball court into a labyrinth and meditation garden. And I enlisted all the people from a particular church I was working with. And I had 65 volunteers. So what I was able to do was train them in stone setting. And in doing that, there wasn't a stone setter in the group when we started. But afterwards, all the people were able to set stone and look at the incremental change they had over a 3.5-month period. We set 56,000 tons of stone, tons. And they all got a sense of accomplishment and a sense of participating in something that physically they could walk by. Many of them are brainiacs of one kind or another, and they don't work with their hands.
If you were going to run away from your current job or work situation, where would you go? Daphne, would you mind taking this?
Where would I go? I would go on a very long vacation. Someplace where I didn't have to think about what I ran away from. Probably scuba diving, maybe let's say Hawaii or Mexico. I think that's what I would do.
Our 5 speakers were Vicki, Chris, Stan, Lance, and Daphne. Please vote for your left table topic.
Well, I will say, so with those masters, we had 2 minutes to start and there was no line. I can't believe it. That's the first time I've ever seen that. However, Curtis got us off to a very synergetic start this morning. Everybody was up and about and dancing, and I miss that kind of energy that Curtis used to bring to this meeting. I will say, one thing I learned as general evaluator, it's a good thing to confirm the speakers before you make calls to assign the evaluators. I called Laura over the week and gave her the wrong speaker and didn't find out until the last minute, so I would encourage you to maybe confirm each speaker before making an assignment to the evaluator. Ray, I will say your evaluation was a great, fantastic evaluation. It was the classic sandwich evaluation with a positive note, something to improve on, and ending on a positive note. I will say that next time you don't call your speaker, maybe don't bring me, because don't tell me or the GE, because then he can't bring it up during the meeting. We had a great evaluation from Laura and Jack as well. Jack, next time maybe, there was a lot of an opinion about the content of the speech as opposed to just evaluating the speech as a whole. And I think that just for time purposes, it's a lot more beneficial to stick on that frame. And if there's one thing I can stress, it's time, time, time. And part of being a speaker is not only practicing the contents of our speeches and our vocal variety and whatnot, everything that goes along with the speech, but a lot of people forget about time. And we have to be conscious of that time, and we have to really think about that, because in the end, it's really the table topics that suffer of the speech, of the meeting. And I think as a Toastmaster, table topics is important, especially getting new members and potential members, guests involved in getting part of that brought in as a whole. So with that, I will call on our helpers this morning. Kat, how did we do on time?
Actually, throughout this whole meeting, people handle time very well. I'll start with you, Jay. You were very brief at 2 minutes and 18 seconds for your evaluation. And then going back to the beginning, Tiffany gave us that beautiful poem and song at 2 minutes and 21 seconds. 1 minute, Jones, was 2 minutes. Wordmaster Cynthia was 47 seconds. Humorist Charles was 53 seconds. John Hanson spoke for only 6 minutes and 12 seconds for asking for 7 to 9. So he was under time. Tom Ginsberg asked for 7 to 9 and he spoke for 8 minutes and 32 seconds. David Lombard asked for 5 to 7 and David spoke for 8 minutes. Our evaluators, Ray, Laura, and Jack all hit the 3-minute mark. Ray was 3:21, Laura was 3:25, and Jack was 3:32. Our table topic folks had a lot in a very short time. Vicky was 55 seconds, Chris was 54 seconds, Dan was 1 minute and 17 seconds, Lance spoke for 1 minute and 37 seconds, and Daphne took the cake at 15 seconds.
And Emily, how did you do on our odds?
Well, I have to say, the beginning was, I was really bored. And then, Laura, I knew it. And then this talk, it was kind of, yeah, but that'll, don't much. Sandy had a little odd, you know, that Sandy thing, Lance had a couple odds in his house, and Daphne a couple odds on his
How was
Thank you very much today. The grammar was great today. I found very few things to bring up. I want to say Tom had just a couple things, but he had so much stuff. This is so big. He said before them lay committee, I think it might have been more appropriate to say staff, because he doesn't really lay, but it was a nice picture of them. And then the other thing was the CEOs, I think he meant to say stuff.
Yeah.
Dennis said something about the corporation being highly influential in its effect, I'm not sure if that is enough. I thought that there were a couple things, I like the way words develop, and one of the really neat ones, Lance's brain had, that was very effective, I thought, and David said, hang with me on this. It's a modern way of talking, not sort of what we call from that. And that's what I have to say, it's really good being with my friends.
Cynthia, can you give us a synergistic report?
Wow, that was the order to talk. because I had time with everybody, Sandy, Jones, John, David, Dennis, Owen, those who used for birthday. Maybe use it one more time.
Me too.
Back over to our Toastmaster.
Before I have to say my words, and that is, this subject is not, the state of Montana in 1912 put in a law that corporations couldn't give lots of money to campaigns because the copper barons at that in the early 1900s were flooding Montana with money, and it became so corrupt, all the politicians were bought, and nobody had any say except for the 5 biggest guys who were pouring money into that state. And so now the Supreme Court in Montana is not going to honor the new law from 2012 or from 2010. And so I believe that we're going to have the state of Montana against the Supreme Court and the states' rights issues and all of that. So this is going to be very interesting. Don't let go of this topic. But at that point, I'd like to bring up the vote counter, Gerardo, and tell us who won table topic, please.
Favorable topic. The best favorable topic is land.
Best evaluator, Laura.
And the best speaker. Thank you all, and here comes Greg.
Nice job, Candy. Well done, everyone. Do we have any Toastmaster-related announcements? Vicki?
Yes, I won. All right, the report on Derek. Derek had surgery several months ago. He's doing well, and he's returning to his private practice very part-time, and he's not yet ready to be able to return to this meeting. He's still having some pain. So that, and we just change messages. And also, there is going to be a special something with Toastmasters mid-July. I'm in charge of collecting raffle prizes. So I would invite each and every one of you to think about that. Think about maybe a service or a bottle of wine or something interesting that, favorite restaurant that you can ask and see if they're willing to give a gift certificate. Then give it to me, and then I will give it to Dan Matchmeyer, who's in charge of this wonderful thing that I'll be letting you know more about. Thank you.
John?
Our daughter, Britt Johanna, gave birth to a 6-pound, 11-ounce, 19-inch baby girl, 6:50 p.m. Mountain Time, Thursday, June 7th, 2012. Her name is Paige Johanna, mother and daughter doing well, father surviving juvenile left.
He's a college speaker, no doubt. Cynthia?
I see that I'm scheduled to speak on my first speech, but I will not be there, so anybody wants to come and I have to travel.
Please talk to Cynthia after the meeting if you'd like to take that spot on the 22nd. In 2 weeks, Pat?
I also, in this schedule, we're supposed to have a meeting on July 6th. The 4th of July is the 4th. And I know I'm going to be out of that.
Every case you want answering? Do we really want to meet on the 6th? Will people be away because of the holidays, blah, blah, blah?
Raise your hand if you'd like to come on the 6th.
I would like to.
I think maybe we'll keep it? Yeah? Okay. Thanks for bringing that up. Tom, you have an announcement?
Yeah, real quick. There's a absence schedule floating around, and I actually need to get that back. If anybody would note their absences
for the upcoming schedule, that would be great. Nicolette and I are gonna do a team here and come up with a new schedule, because I'm gonna be taking over June, July 1st. If anybody has any great topics they wanna see for me, please let me know. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other Toastmaster-related notes? I wanted to point out that, Lance, this is an award that comes back each week, so this is our way to hook you into coming back. So you win this. You can keep the ribbon, and we'll be talking. It's a table. You want tabletop, right? And Daphne, we'd love to have you back next week. We're going to be talking about vacation plans, so it's perfect for you. And it's good to have Stan back as well as Tina. Next week, the Toastmaster will be Curtis Relaford, and the GE will be Carol McPherson. Indeed. And we'll be talking about vacation plans. I wanted to point out Jay Mosley, our Sergeant at Arms. And I don't know if it's been brought to anyone's attention, but we have a new banner with the new, with the new Toastmasters brand, and as Sergeant at Arms, he got that for the club. He also, I wanted to point out, sometimes people miss an opportunity to really critique places in parts of the meeting that you can only do at GE, and I wanted to commend Jay on doing that. It improves the whole meeting. Next week, I said we'll be talking about vacation plans, and I'll leave you.
On this schedule, it says June 15th is managing money and the household, and vacation plan is on.
You're right. Thank you, Pat.
Now, this is okay.
Managing money and household is next week. And the quote I'll share you with was not from this meeting, but it's from my mind, and it's from Stephen Colbert, I think. And he says, corporations are people. I'll believe that when, just like in Texas, they put one to death.